It takes a lot longer than you think. So he or she, I don't know, but it has really dark ears. So I'm going to kind of sneak up on these ears. And dark does not have to be black. It certainly doesn't have to be black. But it has to be the value that I want it to be. And I'm going to repeat that color down in here. And I'm thinking about negative shapes. So in other words, I already have this cool green in here. So if I will remember to save some of that, and I'm getting dark. Now that's a little wet, so watch, yes, it's going to make a negative, it's going to make a neutral color as it comes over here and goes into that yellow. But do you see how we're starting to get some of this texture already? Now, do I have to do every bit of that texture? Absolutely not. I do not. Okay, so now you can go ahead and you're going to walk over here and then scooch on over, keep going. I'll try not to paint that armpit. Put that back down, and we're going to start in with some colors. I'm going to use a little French ultramarine blue here. That's pretty wet now. A little cobalt turquoise, just because we love ourselves some beautiful color. And yes, I've got a big brush, but I'm still able to get some of that texture around that ear and holding on to some of that color right there. It's wet on wet. Remember, there's two ways to paint a watercolor. You can mix all your colors up over here and mix them and then apply them. Or notice that it's wet now. I'm going to come in here with this beautiful purple, and I'm still doing wet on wet. And it's going to blend on the paper. Okay. Let's get to the other ear. I'm not painting so much what it is, but how it is. Not what it is, but how it is. And I'm saying in my head adjectives. Okay? I'm saying furry, long fur, short fur, bounce light, warm, cool, all those things. Contrast.
That's why I love watercolors. You can paint your picture and go to bed at night and come in the morning and it's like a whole new picture. Like the watercolor fairies went in there and just redid it.
I love the watercolor fairy.
I do too.
She's
They're
so great.
fabulous.
She's so great. How do you like my human camera stand?
I'm telling you, he's so steady too.
Right?
My goodness.
Okay,
I should have
so,
worn
His
different
arms will
shirt.
get tired of it too.
yeah, we'll give him a little break. But once I learned this technique of using the time lapse, it's so much fun. It's just that, here's the deal. If you're videotaping with your camera and you get one of those spam calls, it cuts it off.
Oh,
And that's when you say a few words that are not really nice.
You could use an old phone, it doesn't really get phones too.
Yeah. Remember, you want to vary the color as you go. So in other words, that's a beautiful purple, but watch how it's going to bleed into this. This is horizon blue, and it is kind of an opaque color, but when you mix it with other really transparent colors, it's so cool. And I see that same color down here under his nostril. Betsy, will you kind of keep me on, let me know what time is, okay? You mind?
I don't think she heard you.
Somebody be my timekeeper so that I,
Okay.
It's 1:20.
Lynn's got one of those fancy watches over here.
okay, you see there's bounce light coming back up underneath that fat little lip
Snout.
that he has. I love this color. It's pretty opaque too, but it blends nicely. Anybody else use periwinkle?
Yes.
Isn't it a great color? It's a great color. But it blends with all these nice purples.
I bet. Alan, you doing okay over there?
Doing good.
Look at that. That's suggesting hair, okay? Negative and positive, lights and darks. I think you do a fabulous job.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think I can get you a job in Hollywood.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
He is as steady as a rock.
I'm amazed he's not asleep. If he stays still that long, he's usually asleep.
And
I heard that.
His face is getting a little red, though.
his what?
His face is getting a little red.
He'll let me know when he gives up the ghost. And he can really see the colors. I love mint julep too. Anybody use mint julep? Look how it mixes with these colors. Isn't that a great color? And I think I really have been impacted by when I was in the Amazon with the colors of the weavings that I saw. So I am painting with quite a bit of color these days, but then I've kind of always been that way. I mean, there's some beautiful color happening there.
It almost looks iridescent from here.
There's a lot of yellow. I mean, it's a little lemon yellow here. This is Windsor lemon, actually. On the bottom side of that lip. And of course, it's going to be darker right in here. Do y'all see that? So it doesn't matter if I go over that. I want to get rid of that line right there. And now I'm going to try to pop that chin out a little bit by going darker under here. So I can do complementary color scheme here and go back to the periwinkle if I want to. It's going to gray down a little bit. But underneath here, you see that pops that whole chin out? And think about it. We're trying to do a three-dimensional shape that comes out in space on a flat two-dimensional piece of paper. I want to use as big a brush as I have for as long as I have, as long as I can. Before I'm not going to go and pick up something that's got 3 hairs on it to try to get that developed. What happens is you just have to use less pressure on that brush and just flick it in order to get the suggestion of that beautiful fur hair. I guess it's hair. I did learn that the baby alpacas, it sounds horrible, but the most lovely fur comes, the softest fur comes from baby alpacas. But they will not shear those alpacas until they're about 2 years old. Okay, see what we got here. A little under this eye. Questions? Oh, awful quiet. Paul's finally got this group whipped into shape. Okay, we gotta get darker over here. Notice it did, you know, what watercolor will dry 40% lighter, right? We know that. So we're gonna have to come back in here and really punch up that color in that ear. But there's some really beautiful fur in here. And I'm working on pretty dry paper right now. Much better. Much better. Now, where else am I seeing dark? I'm seeing dark on that nose. So it doesn't matter what color I choose. I can use purple, I can use French ultramarine, I can use a little bit of cobalt turquoise. See how wet it is. It's a little damp. But I can start in by suggesting some of those darks in there. See if it'll hold. Starting to. Okay. Pull a little of that in here. Get that head coming forward. And I want soft edges, so I'm using the water to remind me that that's what I need to do here. I need to remember to use soft edges. And of course, if I want soft edges, that's going to come from the wet on wet technique. Sometimes you want to make sure, there's still some grays in here, so I'm going to glaze over that a little bit, because that's off in shadow just a tiny bit. And the same thing on the other side. Let's see what I want to do with that. And get that face coming forward. Back up a little.
Did you go with a tour group?
I went with a group called EF, Educational Foundation, and they used to only take kids. And I think so many people finally said, well, why don't you just let adults go and leave the kids at home?
Yeah.
And I've actually taken, one year I was one of the leaders, we took 50 kids to Europe. I've never put on so many Band-Aids in my life. But it was, I mean, they were all high school kids, great kids, just fabulous kids. But I figured out I really hadn't been to Europe because all I did was watch and make sure that everybody was okay and that everybody was drinking enough water. And so it really wasn't a trip that I got much out of. So this is called EF Go Ahead Tours, and they travel all over the world with adults now.
Oh.
And It was very experiential. Every single day, I came back at the end of the day and looked at my friends. There were only 17 in the group.
Oh.
And looked at each other, and I went, that was amazing. We went with the ornithologist out on the Amazon. He knew every bird. He knew what the song was. And I really wasn't a birder. Oh my God, it was amazing. You know, we caught piranhas and they cooked them for us for dinner. We went and saw the weavers and the potters, and, you know, we would pull up, you know, on the bank, and some little lady would lay out a beautiful spread of natural food that she had cooked, and I mean, the food was awesome.
What are you and Kate
It was just a pretty amazing
Did you get
experience.
any bird pictures?
I got lots of bird pictures. We saw the largest kingfisher in the world.
Oh, my
We
gosh.
saw the caracaras. We saw flamingos.
Huh.
It was mind-boggling.
Cockatiels,
Huh?
cockatiels, not so many?
Not so many cockatiels. We saw macaws flying. We saw parakeets, thousands of parakeets, every color you can imagine in the trees.
Isn't that something?
We saw kids in dugout canoes paddling to school.
Oh, my God.
And I said, okay, so they're going to school? He says, yeah, well, they get an early start because they have to catch their fish, because that's their lunch. So they fish along the way, so they'll
Oh my
have something
God.
to eat. Y'all, I mean, it was just, we spent a whole day, in a school.
Good job, hon.
It doesn't matter, it'll be just fine, I
They
appreciate it.
probably roast them on a fire.
Did you see any capybara?